Hi everybody, welcome to Right to the Top. I'm Adam. In today's video, I want to give you some more vocabulary. We're going to start building vocabulary for the IELTS and TOEFL exams, for the essay especially. And today's topic is society. Now, I've seen a few essays where people are writing about society and social values especially, and it seems to me that maybe some of you don't actually understand what some of these words actually mean. So we're going to look at them today and make sure it's more clear for everybody. And especially this word, values. The question was about economic development versus loss of social values. And this person talked about the social consequences, what happens in society. A little bit different, okay? Social values, basically, what is important in life, or not even social values, just values. What is important to you? What do you think is important? What does your family think is important? So these values, they're like individual, family, community, country, etc. They change and they're adaptable. They're a bit abstract, but I'll get into more details. Morals, basically knowing what is right and wrong. And ethics is basically how we behave towards one another in a nice way or in a not nice way, ethically or unethically. So basically, these are all abstract ideas. There's nothing you can point to specifically about them. They're just ideas. So examples of social values. Respect. We should respect one another, and that way we can all live together. Cooperation, cohabitation. Tolerance. You do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't affect me negatively, right? So if you're talking about religious tolerance or sexual orientation, gay, lesbian, etc., straight, all of these tolerances. Honesty and justice, freedom, fairness, equality, all of these are social values. Your own values are for you to make. Everyone has their own idea of what is important in life, what needs to be pursued, what needs to be let go, okay? So make sure you understand that when you're talking about values. So again, this was the topic, and this person wrote about how the more development means more slums, because not everybody can afford to compete, so they have to live in a poor area, or young people have to leave their village to go work in the city to make money, and their parents are left alone. These are not values. These are consequences of economic development. Values, so you can talk about something like this. Economic development drives competition. So I'm getting into the disadvantages of it, which often results in the loss of certain social values such as honesty and respect, as people begin to view the road to success as necessarily being paved by those fallen in battle. So if you're competing for a promotion or a raise, you're competing with somebody else. So sometimes the only way to beat them is to do something dishonest, like to cheat or to betray, right? In other words, to climb the corporate ladder, one might need to resort to cheating and betrayal. So I'm going to say bad things about this person, or I'm going to pretend to be his or her friend, so then I can push them away and I can climb up and be successful, right? The problem is that in the long term, one consequence is that desensitization to the loss of morals or social values. The more we do this over the long time, we will forget what it means to be honest, what it means to help each other, to be tolerant and respectful and justice, right? That's one of the losses of social values from economic development. That's an example. So be careful that you know what it is you're being asked about. Now, when we're talking about society and we're talking about all these values and stuff, we're also talking about heritage and traditions, or we're talking about customs and rituals. So heritage and traditions, these are ideas and beliefs that are inherited or they're passed down from generation to generation. So they come from a religion, they come from our ancestors' experiences with nature, and they create these ideas and they pass these ideas on to us. They're not necessarily our own ideas. And then whatever the heritage and traditions, they come with customs and rituals. These are actions we take or gestures that we make to commemorate something, to celebrate something. It could be a religious holiday, a national holiday, a seasonal holiday, all kinds of things. All kinds of beliefs come with all kinds of rituals and ceremonies. Now, when you're talking about all of these things in terms of giving concrete examples, so if you're talking about social values, you can talk about traditions and heritage that is being lost, or customs and rituals that are being manipulated or being, changed. evolving or devolving, depends how you look at it. And you can use these to give concrete examples. So religious observances, these are rituals. So for example, a pilgrimage or a fast. Pilgrimage going to somewhere, like for example, people go to Mecca to make the Hajj pilgrimage, or a fast where you don't eat for a period of 24 hours or whatever. National holidays, these are brought down from tradition. In Canada, we celebrate Canada Day on July 1st. Canada became an independent nation over 150 years ago. We still celebrate that today. So historical places, events, figures, means people, etc. All of these create our heritage, our traditions. Okay, so now I want to talk about these two words. I want to talk about social and societal. These are two different words that people tend to mix up all the time. When we're talking about social, we're talking about behavior, basically an interaction between people. You could talk about an individual, and you could talk about groups, right? Social behavior, how you interact in groups, how you interact in this place or that place. When we're talking about societal, we're talking about the society that you're in. So societal demands, societal beliefs are specific to a society. Social could be anywhere. Your social behavior, you're going to have behavior anywhere in the world. Societal is based on the one society you're talking about, okay? It's a large group, and it has certain ideas. Sociable basically means friendly. If you're sociable, you're friendly, you're outgoing, extroverted, etc. In some countries, societal pressures often lead even highly social people to seek out isolation. So in certain areas, it doesn't matter how friendly you are, the society doesn't want you to be too friendly. They want you to be quiet and reserved and respectful to the elders. But you're young and you're full of energy. So sometimes it's easier just to go be alone than to be in a group where you can't be sociable, right? So you have to be a little careful. Societal, social. Same sentence, different meanings. Make sure you know the difference between them. Now, sorry, let me go back here. So an escape from the demands put on them to conform. So in some societies, everybody wants you to be the same as everybody else. Everybody's doing it like this, you should as well. That's conform. So I want to give you a few words here. Assimilate, adapt, conform. Now, technically, all of them mean change to fit your surroundings. But they're slightly different, right? And this is where you have to be a little bit careful with synonyms. Synonyms doesn't mean you can interchange words. It means you're talking about generally the same idea, but how you use the word is a little bit different. To assimilate means to absorb. So you can assimilate something, means you can take it inside and make it part of you or your group, or you can be absorbed. You can assimilate into the society you're in. You can become like one, like the whole, basically. You're not separated from the whole. To adapt means to make changes. You make changes and then you fit in and everything works out fine. To conform, basically do what other people are doing, what other people want you to do. So they're all very similar, slight differences. Although many immigrants struggle to adapt to their new host nation, their children often find it easier to conform to the societal norms and thereby assimilate into the new culture, usually at the expense of their parents' culture. Okay? All three words giving a slightly different angle on the same idea. Okay? Now, if we continue to talk about society, you have an inclusive society, you have an exclusive society, and you have diversity. And you have inclusion noun, exclusion noun, inclusivity, exclusivity, also nouns. So inclusive means you take everybody. It doesn't matter race, ethnicity, religious belief, any sort of views on anything, political views, you accept everybody. Exclusive, you have a very particular set of ideals or characteristics that you want, everybody else can stay out, okay? If you think about a country club, if you're not a billionaire, we don't want you, right? It's an exclusive country club, only for billionaires, as an example. So and diversity basically means variety, diverse adjective, diversity noun, diversify verb. A variety, all kinds of different looks, all kinds of different backgrounds, not homogeneous. Homogeneous means one type. So for example, Japan is considered a homogeneous society because it's 99.9% Japanese. An inclusive society accepts all its members and prides itself on its diversity. An exclusive organization usually has strict admittance guidelines. They don't take everybody. Prejudice and stereotype, I think most people already know these words. A stereotype, I want to point out, can be a noun or a verb. You can stereotype someone, or you can stereotype the situation. Prejudice, you can have a prejudice against or be prejudiced toward. So basically what these words mean, this is a general and oversimplified idea or view applied to specific people or things. So for example, if I want to say something about the Chinese, can I say anything about the Chinese? There's a billion Chinese. Obviously, I can't say one thing about a billion different people. Anything I say would be oversimplified and not necessarily correct because it doesn't apply to 1 billion people. So that's where you have to be careful about stereotypes and prejudice. You have an idea that's based on a few examples, and then you apply it to all examples of something. So a very dangerous thing to do. Now, the main problem with stereotypes and prejudices is that they lead to bias and discrimination, which is basically taking action that is like bias, you're favoring one person more than another. Or discrimination, basically you have ideas against. Discrimination is always against. Based on your stereotypes, you discriminate. You act against a particular person or thing or place, etc. Okay. Lastly, we're going to look at race, ethnicity, lastly. Race, ethnicity, and ethnocentrism. Race generally is your physical appearance and your physical characteristics. Ethnicity is your socio-cultural. So in one country, you can have many, many people, all of the same race, but of different ethnicities, different tribes with different beliefs, different cultures, different ways of living life, okay? Ethnocentrism, basically doing things according to my ethnicity and thinking that everybody else is wrong or irrelevant. Now, ethnocentrism is often a base for xenophobia. Xenophobia, well, any phobia means fear. Xeno means foreigner, outsider, stranger. Fear of strangers, basically fear of anybody not in your group. Okay, and that's a very common situation in a lot of societies, unfortunately. And then you have minority and majority. Minority technically means less than 50%, but when we're talking about people, a minority is the smaller group within the larger group. So let's say in America, for example, the majority is Caucasian, white. There's quite a lot of minorities. There's Hispanics and blacks and Asians and all kinds of different minorities. The majority, that's the bigger group. So you can use these words as well to talk about groups of people. Now, just a couple of examples and that's it. I think everyone has heard of the MeToo movement. The MeToo movement is trying not only to protect women, but to break down stereotypes and end biases that limit their growth potential in the workplace. Minority groups regularly face discrimination in the workplace. This is especially true of visible minorities. So you can be a minority, but nobody knows you are. For example, you look the same as everybody else, but you're a different ethnicity. A visible minority has a different skin color, different features, different looks. So especially true of visible minorities whose race or ethnic affiliation, affiliation means like a connection or connection, may stir up xenophobic tendencies in their surroundings. Okay? So again, lots of different words, lots of different ways to use them about society. Again, don't forget, start collecting words, ideas, samples for each topic that you might have trouble with in the writing section. Start building your idea banks right away. Now, if you have any questions about this video, please ask me in the YouTube comment section. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking this button up here. And come back next week. I'll have some more interesting topics for you to help you with your English writing. Okay? See you then. Bye-bye.